When upgrading luminaires, it's important to consider several factors, especially the wiring. In most jurisdictions, electrical codes mandate that luminaires must be installed with wiring rated for the maximum operating temperature of the luminaire itself. Many modern light-emitting diode, or LED luminaires, require wiring rated for 90 degrees Celsius or higher. Older cloth-braid wiring deteriorates over time, so consider the condition of the existing wiring. If the existing wiring is in poor condition or has been damaged, it's recommended to replace it to ensure safe and reliable operation. Using old wiring with new luminaires can pose risks, as the wiring may not be able to withstand the higher temperatures generated by the new luminaire. This mismatch could lead to overheating, electrical hazards, or even fire. Replacing old wiring with modern, high-temperature rated wiring enhances the safety and reliability of the electrical system. This replacement reduces the risk of electrical problems and ensures that luminaires operate properly for years to come. While replacing old wiring can be time-consuming and expensive, the potential benefits of improved safety and reliability usually outweigh the costs in the long run. Furthermore, it might be more difficult and costly to repair any damage caused by using old wiring with high-temperature luminaires. Always follow the installation instructions provided by the luminaire manufacturer. If the instructions specifically require 90 degrees Celsius wiring, it is crucial to adhere to that requirement. If the existing wiring is in poor condition, it should be replaced before installing the new luminaire. Carefully consider the long-term safety and reliability benefits of replacing old wiring with modern, high-temperature rated wiring. It is always recommended to consult with a qualified electrician for professional advice and the best course of action for your specific situation. Here's a breakdown of why each of these considerations is important. Firstly, electrical code requirements. Electrical codes are in place to ensure the safety of electrical installations. These codes often specify the type and rating of wiring that must be used with different types of luminaires. Compliance with these codes is essential to prevent electrical hazards. Secondly, the condition of existing wiring. Older wiring, such as cloth-braid wiring, can deteriorate over time due to heat, moisture, and physical damage. Deteriorated wiring can become brittle, cracked, and lose its insulation, which increases the risk of short circuits, electrical shocks, and fires. Thirdly, compatibility with new luminaires. New luminaires, especially light-emitting diode or LED fixtures, often operate at higher temperatures than older luminaires. If the existing wiring is not rated for these higher temperatures, it can overheat and fail, leading to electrical hazards. Fourthly, long-term safety and reliability. Replacing old wiring with modern, high-temperature rated wiring improves the overall safety and reliability of the electrical system. This replacement reduces the risk of electrical problems and ensures that the luminaires operate properly for many years. Fifthly, potential costs and inconvenience. Replacing old wiring can be time-consuming and expensive, as it may involve opening up walls, ceilings, and floors. However, the cost of replacing wiring is often less than the cost of repairing damage caused by electrical fires or other electrical hazards. Therefore, if installation instructions require 90 degrees Celsius wiring, it's essential to follow those instructions. Using wiring with a lower temperature rating can lead to overheating, electrical hazards, and voiding the luminaire's warranty. If the existing wiring is in poor condition, it's recommended to replace it before installing the new luminaire. Poor condition wiring can be a safety hazard and can also reduce the performance and lifespan of the new luminaire. Replacing old wiring with modern, high-temperature rated wiring improves the overall safety and reliability of the electrical system. This replacement reduces the risk of electrical problems and ensures that the luminaires operate properly for many years. A qualified electrician can assess the condition of the existing wiring and recommend the best course of action for the specific situation. An electrician can also ensure that the new wiring is installed correctly and safely, in accordance with all applicable electrical codes. When considering wiring for luminaires, it's also important to understand the different types of wiring available and their respective temperature ratings. Temperature rating of a wire indicates the maximum temperature that the wire can withstand without degrading its insulation. Common wire types include THHN, THWN, and XHHW. THHN wire is a general-purpose building wire that is rated for 90 degrees Celsius in dry locations and 75 degrees Celsius in wet locations. THWN wire is similar to THHN wire, but it is also rated for use in wet locations. XHHW wire is a cross-linked polyethylene insulated wire that is rated for 90 degrees Celsius in both wet and dry locations. When selecting wiring for luminaires, it's important to choose a wire type that is rated for the maximum operating temperature of the luminaire and the environmental conditions in which the wiring will be installed. Also consider the gauge or thickness of the wire. The gauge of a wire determines its current carrying capacity. The larger the gauge number, the smaller the wire and the lower its current carrying capacity. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifies the minimum wire gauge that must be used for different circuit breakers. It's important to choose a wire gauge that is appropriate for the circuit breaker to prevent overheating and electrical hazards. For example, a 15 amp circuit typically requires 14 gauge copper wire, while a 20 amp circuit typically requires 12 gauge copper wire. 14 and 12 gauge ratings are typical values and depend on other environmental factors such as ambient temperature and number of current carrying conductors in a raceway or cable. When working with electrical wiring, it's important to follow all safety precautions. Always turn off the power to the circuit before working on any wiring. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment such as safety glasses and gloves. If you are not comfortable working with electrical wiring, it's best to consult with a qualified electrician. The electrician can ensure that the wiring is installed correctly and safely in accordance with all applicable electrical codes. In summary, when upgrading luminaires, it's essential to consider the wiring requirements and ensure that the wiring is compatible with the new luminaires. Always follow the installation instructions provided by the luminaire manufacturer and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. Paying attention to these details helps ensure a safe and reliable electrical installation. Now let's delve deeper into the specific issues raised regarding older wiring and its compatibility with modern luminaires. One of the primary concerns is the temperature rating of the existing wiring. As previously mentioned, many new luminaires, particularly light-emitting diode or LED fixtures, generate more heat than older incandescent or fluorescent fixtures. This increased heat can cause the insulation on older wiring to degrade, leading to a higher risk of electrical shorts and fires. Cloth braid wiring, which was commonly used in older homes, is particularly susceptible to heat damage. The cloth insulation can become brittle and cracked over time, exposing the conductors and creating a potential hazard. Even if the existing wiring is not cloth braid, it may still not be rated for the higher temperatures required by modern luminaires. It's crucial to check the temperature rating of the wiring and compare it to the luminaire's requirements. The temperature rating is typically printed on the wire's insulation. If the wiring is not rated for the required temperature, it should be replaced. Another concern is the condition of the wiring's insulation. Over time, the insulation can become damaged due to heat, moisture, and physical wear and tear. Damaged insulation can create a path for electrical current to leak, leading to electrical shocks and fires. Carefully inspect the wiring for any signs of damage, such as cracks, cuts, or discoloration. If any damage is found, the wiring should be replaced. The size of the wiring is another important consideration. The size of the wire determines its current carrying capacity. If the wire is too small for the load, it can overheat and potentially cause a fire. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifies the minimum wire size that must be used for different circuits. It's important to ensure that the existing wiring is large enough to handle the load of the new luminaire. If you are unsure about the size of the wiring, consult with a qualified electrician. They can assess the wiring and determine if it is adequate for the new luminaire. When replacing wiring, it's important to use the correct type of wire. There are different types of wire available, each with its own specific properties and applications. The most common types of wire used for residential wiring are THHN, THWN, and XHHW. These wires are all rated for 90 degrees Celsius and are suitable for most residential applications. When selecting wire, it's important to choose a wire that is appropriate for the specific application and the environmental conditions in which it will be installed. It's also important to use the correct wiring connectors and terminals. The wiring connectors and terminals must be compatible with the type of wire being used and must be properly installed to ensure a secure and reliable connection. Using incorrect or improperly installed connectors and terminals can lead to loose connections, overheating, and electrical hazards. If you are not comfortable working with electrical wiring, it's always best to consult with a qualified electrician. They can ensure that the wiring is installed correctly and safely in accordance with all applicable electrical codes. Electrical work can be dangerous if it is not done properly, so it's always better to err on the side of caution. In addition to the above considerations, it's also important to be aware of any local electrical codes or regulations that may apply. Some jurisdictions may have specific requirements for wiring installations, such as requiring the use of arc fault circuit interrupters, RFCIs, or ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs. It's important to check with your local building department to determine if there are any specific requirements that you need to follow. By carefully considering all of these factors, you can ensure that your luminaire upgrade is safe and reliable. Remember to always follow the installation instructions provided by the luminaire manufacturer and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. Replacing older wiring isn't just about adhering to current electrical codes, it's an investment in the long-term safety and value of your home. Outdated wiring, especially cloth-insulated wiring, can become a significant fire hazard. The insulation degrades over time, making it brittle and prone to cracking. This exposes the live wires, increasing the risk of shorts, arcs, and ultimately, fires. Replacing this wiring eliminates this risk, giving you peace of mind. Modern wiring is designed to handle the increased electrical demands of today's appliances and electronics. Older wiring systems may not be able to handle the load, leading to overloaded circuits, trip breakers, and potential damage to your appliances. Upgrading to modern wiring ensures that your electrical system can safely and efficiently power all of your devices. Upgrading your wiring can also increase the value of your home. Potential buyers will be reassured by the presence of a modern, safe electrical system. It can be a selling point that sets your home apart from others in the market. If you're planning to sell your home in the future, upgrading the wiring can be a worthwhile investment. If you're experiencing problems with your electrical system, such as flickering lights, frequently trip breakers, or outlets that don't work, it's a sign that your wiring may need to be replaced. These problems can be caused by damaged or outdated wiring and should be addressed by a qualified electrician as soon as possible. While light-emitting diode or LED luminaires are generally more energy efficient than older types of lighting, they can still generate heat. The heat is typically concentrated in the driver component of the fixture. If the wiring is not rated for the temperature generated by the driver, it can overheat and fail. Always check the luminaire's specifications to determine the required wiring temperature rating. Even if the existing wiring appears to be in good condition, it may still be nearing the end of its lifespan. Wiring typically has a lifespan of 30 to 50 years. If your wiring is older than that, it's a good idea to have it inspected by an electrician, even if you're not experiencing any problems. An electrician can assess the condition of the wiring and recommend whether it needs to be replaced. Remember that electrical codes are constantly evolving to keep up with new technologies and safety standards. What may have been acceptable in the past may no longer be compliant with current codes. Upgrading your wiring to meet current codes ensures that your electrical system is safe and up to date. This can also protect you from liability in the event of an electrical fire or other electrical accident. Finally, consider the overall aesthetics of your home. Upgrading your wiring can be a good opportunity to also update your outlets, switches, and other electrical fixtures. This can improve the overall look and feel of your home. You can choose from a variety of styles and finishes to match your decor. When upgrading your wiring, it's important to choose a qualified electrician who is experienced in residential wiring. A qualified electrician will be familiar with the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and other applicable codes and standards. They will also have the necessary skills and equipment to safely and efficiently complete the job. Ask for references and check online reviews before hiring an electrician. It's also a good idea to get multiple quotes from different electricians to ensure that you're getting a fair price. Be sure to ask the electrician about their insurance coverage and licensing. A reputable electrician will be properly insured and licensed. Now, let's discuss some specific scenarios and address potential concerns related to replacing wiring during luminaire upgrades. One common question is whether it's always necessary to replace the entire run of wiring, or if it's possible to just replace the wiring near the luminaire. The answer depends on the condition of the existing wiring and the requirements of the new luminaire. If the existing wiring is in poor condition, it's generally recommended to replace the entire run of wiring to ensure safety and reliability. However, if the existing wiring is in good condition and meets the temperature rating requirements of the new luminaire, it may be possible to just replace the wiring near the luminaire. In this case, it's important to use a proper splicing technique and ensure that the splice is properly insulated. Another concern is the cost of replacing wiring. Replacing wiring can be expensive, especially if it involves opening up walls or ceilings. However, it's important to consider the long-term costs of not replacing the wiring. As mentioned earlier, damaged or outdated wiring can lead to electrical hazards and potential damage to your appliances. The cost of repairing these problems can easily exceed the cost of replacing the wiring in the first place. There are several factors that can affect the cost of replacing wiring, including the size of the home, the complexity of the wiring system, and the location of the wiring. It's a good idea to get multiple quotes from different electricians to get an idea of the average cost in your area. Be sure to ask the electrician about their pricing structure and what is included in their estimate. Some electricians charge by the hour, while others charge a flat fee. It's also important to ask about any additional costs that may be involved, such as the cost of permits or inspections. In some cases, it may be possible to reduce the cost of replacing wiring by doing some of the work yourself. For example, you may be able to remove drywall or insulation to make it easier for the electrician to access the wiring. However, it's important to be careful when working around electrical wiring and to always follow all safety precautions. If you are not comfortable working with electrical wiring, it's best to leave the job to a qualified electrician. When replacing wiring, it's important to choose the correct size and type of wire for the application. The size of the wire is determined by the amount of current that it will carry. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifies the minimum wire size that must be used for different circuits. The type of wire is determined by the environmental conditions in which it will be installed. For example, THHN wire is suitable for dry locations, while THWM wire is suitable for wet locations. It's also important to use the correct wiring connectors and terminals. The wiring connectors and terminals must be compatible with the type of wire being used and must be properly installed to ensure a secure and reliable connection. Using incorrect or improperly installed connectors and terminals can lead to loose connections, overheating, and electrical hazards. Finally, it's important to have the wiring inspected by a qualified electrical inspector after it has been installed. The inspector will ensure that the wiring has been installed correctly and that it meets all applicable codes and standards. This inspection can help to identify any potential problems before they become a safety hazard. In conclusion, replacing wiring during luminaire upgrades is an important safety precaution. By carefully considering the condition of the existing wiring, the requirements of the new luminaire, and the applicable electrical codes, you can ensure that your electrical system is safe and reliable. Remember to always follow the installation instructions provided by the luminaire manufacturer and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns.